No one saw it coming. The courtroom sat in stunned silence. Every person leaned forward, expecting something calm and measured. But what Keanu Reeves shared wasn't just unexpected. It was deeply disturbing. Keanu didn't yell. He didn't cry. He didn't blame anyone. Instead, he described what happened in a calm, steady voice. What he revealed was far from ordinary. A strange and unsettling encounter with Sean "Diddy" Combs at a private dinner in 2014. The most shocking part? A bizarre request. Keanu was told he'd have to bathe in Diddy's used bathwater to be accepted into something. At first, it sounded like a sick joke, but it quickly became clear this was deadly serious. Keanu explained how Diddy controlled every part of that evening. At the time, Keanu was filming in Los Angeles when he got a mysterious invitation. Not from a producer or studio, but directly from Diddy himself. No agents, no assistants, just a message. Private dinner, just creatives. Come alone. The location? A secluded estate in the Malibu Hills, known more for its privacy than celebrity gatherings. When Keanu arrived, something felt off. No paparazzi. No valet. Just one guard at the gate who took his phone and said firmly, "No devices allowed." Inside, the house felt more like a stage. Dozens of candles lit the floor. Soft music played from hidden speakers. Diddy stood at the head of a long table and welcomed Keanu with a strange grin. "Glad you made it." There were no waiters, no guests, just the two of them in eerie silence. As Keanu later said, it felt less like a dinner and more like an initiation. Diddy poured them both a glass of wine and said simply, "Let's talk legacy." They didn't talk about films. Instead, Diddy spoke in riddles about power, secrecy, and earning your place in something higher. He never mentioned a movie or project directly. It was clear this wasn't about acting. "It's an experience," Diddy said, "one that changes you forever." Keanu grew uneasy. He said it felt like one of the strangest conversations he'd ever had. He kept thinking, this isn't about performance, it's about transformation. Then Diddy leaned forward and said something that chilled Keanu to the core. "To begin, you must show loyalty. No agents, no press, just surrender." It didn't sound like a role. It sounded like brainwashing. Then Diddy slid a black folder across the table. Inside was a single page. No script, no cast list, no title. Just 7 disturbing bullet points. Trust the process, even when you can't see. Speak to no one about this. You will be reborn as you dip your toes into the sea. Do not ask questions. Your reward is legacy, not money. Leave now if you want wealth. You must be cleansed. Loyalty endures forever. Keanu asked, "Is this a film pitch or something else?" Diddy smiled. "You ask too many questions. That's why you were invited. You still doubt." Keanu's instincts screamed that something was wrong. After decades in Hollywood, he'd seen strange auditions and eccentric directors. But nothing like this. Diddy said there was no need for a title. "Those who complete it don't care about credits," he said. Then came the final moment, the one that silenced the entire courtroom. Diddy placed a small black stone on the table and told, "Keanu, take this with you into the bath. Once you step out, you will never be the same." Keanu hesitated. "What bath?" Diddy smiled wider. "The second part of your transformation. Water holds memory. That's why it matters who you bathe with." He spoke of a strange ritual, a test of loyalty that Keanu found deeply disturbing. "Bring the pebble to the next gathering," Diddy said. "That's how I'll know you're ready." Then he added with chilling finality, "This is not a joke." Keanu blinked, confused, thinking Diddy was speaking in riddles. A strange metaphor, maybe. "The bath will be ready after I leave," Diddy said calmly. "My residue will cleanse you." A quiet gasp echoed through the courtroom. Everyone was stunned by the sheer oddness and seriousness of what Diddy had proposed. Keanu looked at him for what felt like forever, trying to figure it out. "I thought it was a weird test," Keanu later testified. "Or maybe a way to humiliate me." But he wasn't joking. He never broke character. He was completely serious. Diddy poured him another drink and asked plainly, "So, are you in?" Keanu didn't answer. He just stood up, thanked Diddy politely for the dinner, and walked out. As he reached the door, Diddy called after him, "You'll come back. They always do." Keanu still couldn't tell if it had all been a bizarre PR stunt or something darker, but when he got to his car, he found his phone sealed in a black packet. Inside was a card that read, in gold letters, "Loyalty is tested in water." He never replied, and he never went back. But something changed. Keanu's career slowly began to shift. Roles dried up, collaborations fell through, longtime producers stopped returning his calls. "I don't know if it was connected," Keanu told the court, "but everything started after that dinner. After the bath I never took." For weeks, Keanu tried to forget the strange evening, just chalk it up to Hollywood weirdness. But the feeling didn't go away. Then, 3 days later, it got worse. At 3:17 a.m., his home phone rang. No caller ID, he answered. Silence. Then, a single slow inhale, deliberate, deep. Then, nothing. It happened again. And again. 5 more times over 2 weeks, always at odd hours. Same pattern, blocked number, heavy breathing, no voice. Then the cars started showing up. Unfamiliar vehicles would park across the street from his house, idling for hours. And then, one night in his garage, Keanu noticed something tucked beneath his windshield wiper. Another black packet. Inside was a sheet of thick old paper. It read, "Unfinished rituals have consequences." It was signed with a single letter, S. No sender, no address, no watermark. Keanu admitted in court that these events disturbed him deeply, but he didn't want to jump to conclusions. He reached out to a trusted friend, a longtime agent, and explained everything. The agent's advice was simple. If you didn't sign anything, if you didn't speak, forget it ever happened. But then he added something unsettling. There are people who don't like being told no, especially when they think you already belong to them. Keanu tried to move on. He'd just landed a new indie film. Good story, modest budget, and a solid creative team. Investors loved it. But just days before filming, the studio pulled out. Unexpected financial issues, they said. No further explanation. Another role, a cameo. In a big-budget sequel, disappeared too. No reason given. No replacement cast. Keanu assumed it was just bad luck. Until a respected director, someone Keanu had worked with before, approached him quietly and said, "I don't know what you walked away from, but whatever it was, you scared the seat right people." And that, Keanu said, was the moment he realized something far bigger was happening behind the scenes. Something he still couldn't fully explain. In the months that followed, Keanu Reeves's career began to quietly unravel. There were no scandals, no public drama, nothing that would raise alarms at first glance. But behind the scenes, everything was changing. Colleagues who once called him regularly vanished. Promising projects slipped through his fingers without explanation. At a high-profile charity gala, dressed in black tie and surrounded by media giants and Hollywood elites, Keanu stood at the bar. That's when a familiar face approached, a well-known actress he had worked with and trusted. She leaned in close and whispered, "You said no, didn't you?" Then, without waiting for a reply, she smiled and walked away. In that moment, Keanu had a realization. The dinner offer he had turned down wasn't just another strange night in Hollywood. It had been a test, and he had failed. Later court testimony backed this idea. Several witnesses described eerily similar experiences: dinner, invitations, mysterious rituals, and sudden rises to fame. Unknown artists became overnight successes after aligning with Diddy. Those who declined were quietly cut out. Keanu began to notice a pattern. Certain musicians and actors skyrocketed to fame, while others simply disappeared. There were whispers. One actor from the early 2000s, known for action roles, reportedly clashed with Diddy's inner circle. Then he vanished. He didn't play the game, people muttered, and he paid for it. Keanu described the industry as a house of mirrors, where the real power wasn't held by directors or producers, but by hidden gatekeepers. Unseen. Unnamed, controlling everything from behind velvet curtains. Then came something more personal. A charity campaign that Keanu had helped organize suddenly dropped his name 4 months after that fateful dinner. The message was cold and simple. The board has decided to move in a different direction. What Keanu didn't know was that just before his removal, the campaign had received a large anonymous donation. The new face of the campaign? An actor connected to Diddy's circle. This wasn't just professional rejection. It felt like erasure. Another unsettling moment came during a meeting at a major studio. While Keanu was pitching a project, the executive got a phone call. "I'm sorry, we'll have to reschedule," he said abruptly and walked out. Keanu never heard from them again. In court, he described it simply: it's not blacklisting. It's erasure. Not loud, not public, just quiet and efficient. He then shared one of the most shocking parts of his testimony: what Diddy had actually said during that first dinner. Diddy spoke in strange metaphors, but the meaning was clear. He bragged about artists who had proved their loyalty, those who had been baptized in legacy. He never said what that meant exactly, but he used it like a secret badge of honor. You ever wonder why he blew up so fast? Staying faithful. "She got the trilogy because she didn't ask questions," Diddy had said, grinning. Keanu thought it was just metaphor at first. But Diddy wasn't joking. "That's why they get everything," he continued, "because they showed me their mind." Keanu didn't reveal all the names mentioned in court, but he confirmed that some of the biggest stars in the world were brought up in that conversation. Diddy was careful never to accuse, just to imply. It wasn't gossip. It wasn't casual. It was calculated. A message hidden in plain sight, and over time, Keanu couldn't deny the truth. The people Diddy named, they all rose to the top. Fast. One actor, newly cast in a massive superhero franchise, stuck out. Diddy had reportedly said, "Wondering why he's wearing that suit?" He soaked for 2 minutes. That's all it took. The courtroom fell silent. Jurors shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't just strange. It was chilling. Then, as Keanu ended his testimony, the prosecutor asked, "Was it just you who got the offer?" Keanu answered, "If it had just been me, maybe I could have let it go. But I now know I wasn't the only one. I was just the lone wolf among those who walked away." It felt like a scene from a psychological thriller, surreal, dark, and deeply real. As Keanu continued, he revealed that Diddy had reached out again. No dinner, no candles, no show, just a quiet message through a mutual contact. "If you want to understand the system, come. See the vault." That's what the message said. At first, Keanu hesitated. Was this some twisted performance? A final act in a long, drawn-out illusion? But curiosity won out. He agreed to meet, on one condition: a neutral location. Instead, he was taken to what appeared to be a Beverly Hills penthouse. But once inside, Keanu quickly realized this wasn't a home. It felt more like a surveillance hub. There were no windows, sparse furniture, just the low, constant hum of running equipment. Diddy was waiting. He led Keanu to a row of drawers. "This," Diddy said, "is the insurance." Keanu noticed the names etched on each drawer. Familiar names. Big names. No need to open them, Diddy added. He didn't have to. Keanu understood immediately. Each drawer held leverage, NDAs, confidential, agreements, maybe even compromising material. And the people listed? All respected, all powerful, all involved. Everybody's got leverage, Diddy said with a calm smile. I just keep mine neat and tidy. Then he looked Keanu dead in the eye and added, if you'd taken the bath, you'd have a drawer, too. The message was clear. Compliance earns protection, resistance leaves you exposed. A final offer was made. You don't even have to say a word, Diddy told him. Just show up. We'll take note of the silence. Keanu declined, respectfully, but firmly. As the elevator doors closed, Diddy's voice echoed behind him. Silence is loyalty. Remember that. In court, Keanu called this moment the most disturbing of all, because it wasn't just about secrecy, it was about fear. About how power thrives in silence. He admitted there were times he wanted to speak, especially when he heard rumors about others or saw talented artists vanish without reason. But fear kept him quiet. A friend once warned him, don't be the guy who takes the fall for exposing the club. And for years, he obeyed. But everything changed when he saw Cassie Ventura break down on the stand. When he heard the timeline, the recordings, the ritualistic details. They matched everything he had seen. It wasn't just me, Keanu said. There was no just me. He recounted an incident from 2020 when a former co-star reached out after Diddy's legal troubles began to surface. The message was short. This is your chance. If you speak, I'll back you up. Keanu wanted to believe it. But he deleted the message, not from disbelief, from fear. Then came the subpoena, and with it, a final decision. Stay silent or speak the truth, not out of revenge, but out of principle. This isn't about punishment, Keanu told the judge. It's about clarity, about speaking before I walk away from this industry for good. By the time Keanu Reeves finished his testimony, the courtroom had transformed. Diddy's defense team, once smug and composed, had gone silent. The front row, once filled with high-profile supporters, was now empty. A heavy stillness hung in the air. Keanu had overturned nearly every objection from Diddy's attorneys. Their cries of hearsay and irrelevance were drowned by the intensity of his account. The jury listened in rapt attention. One juror wiped away a tear, another scribbled furiously in a notebook. And what Keanu said next cut deeper than any headline. The only reason I'm still here, he said softly, is because I said no. The only reason I could say no is because I still believed in a signal, a cue. Then he turned toward Diddy, who sat slumped, jaw clenched, lips tight. I'd rather fade into nothing than be remembered for dipping my feet into your water, Keanu said. You talk about legacy, but not all of us are willing to pay that price. It was like thunder cracking through the courtroom. The judge called for a break. Outside, a storm had begun, not in the sky, but in the halls. Reporters swarmed the corridors. Sketch artists rushed to capture the moment. Diddy's legal team looked shaken, paralyzed by what had just been confirmed. Because Keanu Reeves hadn't just testified. He had verified every rumor,